Good morning and welcome to today's Yin Yoga practice. We're going to be doing Yin Yoga to benefit the spine this morning. Because we want to be as supported as possible so that our muscles can completely relax in these poses, we want lots of props, including but not limited to pillows, folded blankets, yoga blocks, straps, blanket rolled up thickly, maybe a couple of those. And the more you fold the blanket, you can make it even thicker by doing a smaller fold as a bolster. So I'm going to talk to you first a little bit about Yin Yoga. And while I do that, I want you to go ahead and find a comfortable seated position. So you might choose to sit with your legs crossed and your feet at your shins. You might want to cross your ankles. That will allow you to tilt your pelvis more, and you can sit up on blocks. Or you might even choose to sit up on your ankles, especially if you tend to be more internally rotated in your hips. So go ahead and find a seat that is comfortable for you, and you can begin to lengthen your breath while I talk to you just a little bit about Yin Yoga. Okay, so Yin Yoga is the counterpart to more traditional yoga, and in more traditional yoga we are working and bringing stress to the muscles. But in Yin Yoga, we are bringing mild supported stress to the joints. So that's the ligaments, the joints, the fascia, the bones. And because those are more delicate than the muscles, we want to make sure we're really well supported, hence all the props. But we do want to mildly stress these ligaments and joints because it helps strengthen them and it helps increase or resume mobility. So especially as we get older, the Yin Yoga class that I was taking was saying really once you get to mid-30s and beyond, Yin Yoga is really important because our tendency as we get older is to stiffen up in the joints, and Yin Yoga will really help us maintain mobility and health in the joints. Now because we are working in the joints and because we want to be really careful, it's important that you find your edge and don't go past it. So especially as we're starting out, you want to err on the side of less sensation. You can always go deeper in the pose as we hold, but initially we want to go just to the point where you start to feel a sensation and then stop there. As you breathe, you might soften a little bit more into it, but if at any point you feel pain, it should be burning, sharp, stabbing, tingling electrical sensation, come out of the pose and find a different variation or skip that one altogether. So we want to avoid pain. Now there may be some discomfort, and that's okay as long as it's mild and it's not pain. So the four main principles that we're going to go through for each Yin posture are coming into the pose to an appropriate depth. So that appropriate depth is finding your edge, where you're feeling sensation but not pain. And then you're going to resolve to remain still. Now remember, you might be a little uncomfortable, but you should not be in pain. And we're going to hold each pose for 3 minutes. If 3 minutes feels too long, you can come out early. Always want to listen to your body. And then we'll hold for time. So we're going to hold for 3 minutes. Now if you're newer to this, 1 or 2 minutes might be enough for starting. So after it's been a minute or two, you can choose to come out. And then the last is that we come out of the pose slowly. So we'll move slowly out of the pose, and then we'll do a counter movement to kind of resume neutrality in the body, and I will lead you through those. So now a few options for while we're in the pose, because we are going to be holding for 3 minutes for each pose, and that can feel like a long time of silence, especially if you're not used to it. So the first option would be to connect with your breath. Imagine sending your breath to the place in your body where you're feeling sensation. And that can be your meditation practice during this Yin this morning. Or you could choose to be in an attitude of prayer where you're dedicating your practice to a particular person or cause, and during the hold you can direct your attention to the person or cause that is on your mind today. A third option is just to watch your thoughts, let them flow where they want, let them be, and that's a perfectly valid option as well. And the last is for people who are particularly triggered by silence, which is completely fine. If that's where you are, allow yourself to be there. You might want to put on some music or even an audiobook, something where you can direct your attention so that you can still get the physical benefits, but you're not stressing your mind. Okay, I think that's everything I need to go over. So today's practice is to benefit the spine, but there will also be benefits to other parts of your body. So we don't do a lot of warming up in Yin Yoga because we really want the stress to move into the joints and not be absorbed by the muscles. So we'll just do a little bit of motion with the neck, a little rolling of the shoulders, but we're not going to do a full warm up here. Okay. All right, so we are going to start today's practice in butterfly pose. It's also known as bound angle pose in traditional yoga. So for butterfly pose, you want to make sure that you're supported. So you're sitting up on your sitting bones. You can put 1 or 2 blankets, pillows underneath your sitting bones. And then you're going to bring the soles of your feet together and move your feet as far away from your sitting bones as is comfortable. Normally with bound angle we can move the feet in or out, but for this yin we're going to move the feet as far away as feels comfortable. And this is where the pillows or blocks can come in handy. You can stick pillows or blocks underneath your knees to support you once you find that depth. You can also take your bolster and put it on top of your thighs, or rest pillows down here and put your elbows on the ground. If you're pregnant and you don't have room to roll it downward, you can still get some of the benefit by lying back on a bolster, maybe some folded blankets at your upper back, support your knees and lie back. You could even have yourself sitting taller with more pillows. If you've got room to fold forward and that feels okay, you're also welcome to do that. So you can go ahead and take a moment to play with finding a butterfly that feels supported to you. Now, unlike Yin Yoga or Yang Yoga, where we keep the spine long, we are rounding the spine in this one. So this brings some of the stress into the lower back, where we're wanting to regain some mobility and strength. So you should feel some sensation in your lower back in the variation that you find. But again, listen to yourself and make sure that it's not painful. So I'll give you a few more seconds to find a butterfly pose that is comfortable for you, where you feel some sensation in your lower back. And then I will start the timer here in a moment, and we'll stay in the pose for 3 minutes. All right, timer is going. So you've got 3 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and stay silent so you can direct your attention wherever is appropriate for you for today. One more minute to go. All right, so we are at 3 minutes. So to come out of your butterfly pose, you want to put your hands on the ground and push the floor away from you and come up very slowly. When you get back up to a neutral spine, you can place your hands behind your hips. Maybe lift your chest up a little bit. You can put your feet flat on the ground and do a gentle windshield wiper, moving the knees from side to side. You're doing that external rotation in butterfly, and this windshield wiper has an internal rotation element, so it's a good counter pose. You can even press into your feet and lift your hips if that feels good. All right, now we're going to prepare to come into our second pose, which is the caterpillar pose. In the caterpillar pose, our legs will be straight out in front of us. If you're pregnant, you might want to bring your legs a little wider and bend both of your knees. You can put some blocks underneath you. If you have limited mobility in your hamstrings, it's a good idea to bend your knees. Maybe take that rolled blanket and put it underneath your knees. You could take a couple more blankets and put them on your thighs and allow yourself to round forward. You can put your elbows on your legs or on your bolster and rest your chin on your hands. If you feel any sensation in your neck, that might be a good one. But play around with the position where you can fold forward, feel supported, and again, we're trying to get some mild sensation in the lower back, but we do want it to be mild, so make whatever adjustments you need to. You can use the strap for this one, but you want to make sure that you're not pulling. The idea here isn't to get a deep, deep stretch, but to get into a supported position where your muscles can relax and where the stress can go into your joints. So take a moment and find a caterpillar position that's going to work for you for today. And then I will get ready to start our timer. All right, timer is going. 3 minutes. halfway there. Very good. And we're going to come out of caterpillar, similar to how we came out of butterfly. So you'll press your hands into the floor. You're pressing the floor away from you to slowly walk your hands back up. You can place your hands behind you and bend your knees. Lift your chest. Move your knees from side to side. You don't have to do all of these, just whatever ones feel good. Or press into your feet and allow your hips to come up. And now we'll prepare to go into another pose for the spine. And I'm going to give you two options here, and you can pick what's best for you. The first is the Sphinx pose. The other is going to be the bridge pose. So now for pregnancy, they're recommended not holding for long periods of time in bridge pose. So an option for pregnancy, let me see if I can arrange this, what I have, would be to put your thighs on a bolster and then to put your hands, your elbows actually, on a bolster as well, so that your belly can hang down and you can make the thigh bolster and the elbow bolster as high as you need it to. The blocks are good for the elbows, and then you can build something underneath your thighs with blankets or pillows. If you're not pregnant, but you want to try Sphinx pose, you'll lie with your belly on the ground, and you can bring your elbows underneath your shoulders, and you can start here. If this is too much sensation for your lower back, you can bring your elbows farther out and rest your head on your elbows and maybe bend your legs and see if that gives you the sensation. You can be straight or bent. If this does not give you enough sensation in your lower back, you can walk your elbows a little bit closer to your body and bend your knees. You can also rest your elbows on blocks or stick the bolster between your chest and your elbows. Lots of options here for the Sphinx variation. If you would prefer to do bridge pose and you're not pregnant, you can lie back, press into your feet, and put blocks underneath your pelvis and your sacrum. You can do it on the lowest level, or you can stack the blocks and put them on the higher level. You could also use pillows or blankets here if you want it to be pretty low. So take a moment and find either supported bridge or Sphinx pose, whichever option you choose. And on your own this week you could try the other if you'd like. But for now, just pick one. And I'll go ahead and start the timer now. Got one more minute to go. Very good. Bring you out of bridge pose first. If you're in bridge pose, press into your feet to lift your hips. Remove whatever support is underneath you and slowly lower your hips back to the ground. And then you can hug your knees into your chest and maybe make some gentle circles with your knees. If you're in Sphinx pose, you can lower your forehead down to your hands. Maybe turn your head to one side and bring one knee up for a few breaths. Good release for your lower back. And then, or if you prefer, you can press up into a tabletop and do some very gentle cat-cows. Nothing too deep. And if you'd like, you can even sit back into a child's pose for a few breaths. Very good. So for this next pose, we're going to lie down on our back. And if you're pregnant, you're going to lie on your side. And we're going to do a side stretch called Bananasana. So let me show you the pregnancy variation first. If you're on your left side, you're going to lie on your left side and bring a bolster in close to your hip. And you can adjust the height of the bolster. And then you can allow your hands to, couch is in the way, allow your hands to stretch overhead so that you feel a nice gentle stretch through your right side. Instead, you can thicken the bolster or make it less thick, depending on how you want, how deep you want to go into that pose. For everyone else, we'll start in the Shavasana with the legs and the arms apart, and then we'll bring the right hand and the right foot to meet the left hand and the left foot, so we get a stretch through the right side. And you can play with which hand is on top and also which foot is crossed over, and see which one gives you decent sensation in your right side. You can also bring your feet and your arms farther to the left for a deeper stretch, or closer to center for a milder stretch. If this hurts your shoulders, you can bend your elbows or even rest them on your forehead or on a block behind your head. So lots of options here to get a good stretch in the right side. So go ahead and find the Banana Asana right side stretch that feels good in your body, and we'll go ahead and start the timer. One more minute on this side. Very good. And the counter pose for Banana Asana is to do the Banana Asana on the other side. So if you're pregnant and you're lying on your left side, you can slowly roll over onto your right side. And everybody else, you can move your hands from the left side of your body and your feet over to the right side. So you can place your left foot over or under your right foot, and the same thing with your hands. Your left hand can go over or under your right foot on the right side of your body, so you're getting that stretch through the left side. And we'll go ahead and start the timer on the other side. One more minute. Very nice. So to come out, you can roll onto your back and gently bring your knees into your chest. Knees can be wide or closer together. And you can make some gentle circles with the knees going in both directions. Circle one way and then the other. Good. And then we're going to move into a reclined twist. So for the reclined twist, you can bring both knees into your chest, and then you can gently allow the knees to fall to the right. If your knees don't easily reach the right side, you can place blankets, blocks, pillows underneath your right knee. If you're not pregnant, you want to try to press that left shoulder into the ground. But I recommend just keeping your head in neutral rather than looking over to the left. And your hands can be out and on your leg, or they can be in Again, we're going for a gentle sensation in the lower back. You can bring your knees in closer to your chest or work your legs a little bit straighter to see what different sensations you can get there. If you are pregnant, don't press the left shoulder in. You can lift it up off the ground and maybe extend the right leg out and put just the left knee on a blanket so that you get a little bit of a twist, but that it's gentle. Again, we're not pressing that left shoulder in if you're pregnant because you don't want to go too deep into the stretch. You can get a gentle stretch with the right leg straight and the left knee over your body on a pillow or a folded blanket or a block. So everybody take a moment and find the reclined twist with your knees to the right side. I'll go ahead and start the timer. Last 30 seconds on this side. Good. Roll back on your back. And you bring your knees gently back into your chest for a few breaths. And we'll prepare to set up on the other side. If you were using a blanket or a pillow of some sort for that side, you can switch it over to the other side of your body. And then slowly let your knees fall to the left. Again, you can bring these knees in closer to your chest or bring them closer to your feet. If you're not pregnant, try to push the right shoulder into the ground while keeping your head in neutral. And if you are pregnant, allow that right shoulder to come up off the floor, and maybe straighten your left leg and allow the right knee to fall over onto a pillow or a blanket or a block of some sort. Find a position where you are feeling the sensation without any pain. And we'll go ahead and start the timer on the other side. One more minute on this side. Very good. And you can bring your knees back into your chest, moving slowly. You might put your feet flat on the ground and press into a bridge pose for a moment. Maybe do a couple of those. And you can just make little circles with your knees. And then we'll prepare to come into our last pose for today's practice, which is our resting pose in Shavasana. And we're not looking to create any stress in this pose. So if you're pregnant, you can roll back to your left side. Maybe put a blanket or a pillow between your knees and under your head, and find a position that's comfortable. If you're not pregnant, maybe take your bolster and place it underneath your knees with your legs extended. It's a gentler version on your spine. And hands can be out with palms up and shoulder blades together. And if you'd like, you can allow your eyes to close. And we'll hold here for 3 minutes. You might choose to do a bit of wave breathing, allowing your stomach to rise, and then your chest on the inhale, and on the exhale, allowing your chest to fall, and then your stomach. As your breath becomes quiet, perhaps your mind will follow suit, or maybe your mind will wander. Either way is fine. Here in Shavasana, we bring our body, our breath, and perhaps even our mind towards stillness. But if anything is struggling to remain still, you can just notice that and allow it to be okay. And in this resting pose, we're also allowing our body to come back to neutral after bringing those gentle stresses into our joints. It's really important to always take a little bit of a Shavasana at the end of a yoga practice to allow your body to come back to neutral. And you can stay in Shavasana for a little bit longer if you'd like, or if you're ready, you can wiggle your fingers and toes, allow your eyes to open, rolling onto your side and using your hands to help you move slowly. You can work your way back to a comfortable seated position. Well, thank you so much for joining me for my first Yin Yoga class. Take it easy for a little while. You don't want to go directly into any vigorous activity. Give it a half an hour or so and make sure your body feels back to normal. If you feel sensation tomorrow in a certain area that we worked, it probably means you went too deep, and next time you'll want to back off just a little bit. It's really recommended, especially once we get past the mid-30s, you practice Yin Yoga on a regular basis. It can be as much as daily. And if you only have time to do 1 or 2 poses, you can either come into butterfly pose or into Sphinx pose. And really they say if you only have time to do 1, to do the butterfly pose, and that's good for your hips and your spine as well. And they say also that it's more important to hold for longer periods of time and do less poses than it is to do lots of poses and shorten the holds. So since these aren't terribly complex poses, I encourage you to look for time in your week to practice them, maybe when you're reading or watching TV. first thing when you wake up, or maybe when you're lying in your bed before you go to bed. I hope you found this practice beneficial, and I look forward to practicing with you again soon.